Some show up at Keeneland just to be beautiful, some for the burgoo. Me, it's because the best handicapping challenge on God's green earth is right here in Kentucky. Star horses come from Florida, California, and New York, Arkansas, and Louisiana, all to what undoubtedly is the greatest horse racing melting pot in America.
Into the stretch at Keeneland, and Flight Line just moves right by. Life is good.
Win here and you've done something. Love what you do and you'll never work a day in your life. That's Keeneland. Now, let's get handicapping. And good Friday night, everybody, and a blessed Good Friday to you from my family to yours on this Easter weekend. Happy Easter wishes. It's the Keeneland Look Ahead. I'm Jeremy Plonk from Horse Player Now, and tomorrow's the big day of the racing year at Keeneland, really. I mean, unless it's a Breeders' Cup going on, it doesn't get any bigger than Toyota Bluegrass Day, so we are looking ahead to the big one. 11-race card right off the top. I want to remind you, early post time on Saturday, 12:30 Eastern, the first post, so that's a big deal. Other big deal, opening day, nobody hit the pick six, and there was a good pool in it. 53,845 for the pick six carryover. We will talk about that and how it might work into the wagering strategy for Saturday coming up. Partly sunny skies and 60 degrees, the forecast for Saturday. Should be good racing conditions. We had today a fast track and a good turf course. I anticipate we're looking at the same thing. Turf course probably not going to get up to firm until you get some serious heat over it and really tighten up. But I think we're looking at a fast track, good turf course for the action on Saturday. 11 race card features 5 stakes races. Again, culminating with the Toyota Bluegrass in race number 9. It's race number 9 of 11 to fit the national television schedule. NBC will cover a multiple prep Santa Anita Derby and Bluegrass Stakes television show from 4 to 6. Wood Memorial has its own broadcast on Fox. So it should be a huge day tomorrow. We're really looking forward to this. We'll do a little recap of what we saw on opening day Friday, and then we'll get right into all 11 races. We'll look at our public handicappers and who they like, along with all of my selections in the upcoming 30, 40 minutes or so. Should be a little bit longer show tonight, probably, with the 11 race card and the importance of everything going on. Couple multi-race wagers added. There are 3 pick 5s on the card, 3 pick 4s. That's up from the normal 2 of each. So all stakes editions coming up in the middle of the card for an all stakes pick 5 and an all stakes pick 4. So a lot of great wagering action to talk about. We'll go through it with the big picture to show you where all those wagers start, where they may overlap, and how you might strategize about going about it. Now, today, opening day, to give you a recap, it was a good day for the horses in from Oaklawn. 3 winners via Oaklawn on the 10-race program. That was the most productive circuit of where the horses have come from. It was a good day for Wesley Ward. We talk about Wesley Ward's strengths at Keeneland. It's the 2-year-old baby dashes and the turf sprints. He won the first of each. He won the first race on the card and then the first turf sprint of the meet. So it was a good day for Ward. He had 2 wins. Also thought trainers Rudolph Brisset and Ian Wilkes' horses all ran well today. So we're going to look ahead to those 2 guys on the program. Not a lot of starters. Brisset's got 3 in races 2, 7, and 11. He'll match up with Wilkes in race number 11, so they'll go head-to-head in there. But these are 2 barns you want to watch here as we get into week 2, week 3, week 4 of the meet. Their horses look like they were pretty live on opening day, running right out of the gate. Now, I'll tell you this, one handicapper who was live, I had an okay day. Tom Leach had a great day. 5 picks on top from Mr. Leach in the handicapper selectors box, and some nice prices at that. I came in with 3 winners, but they were all chalk, totaled about $15 total in mutual. So nothing to write home about there. None of my key plays clicked on the opening day card. So it's not a good handicapping day for me if I can't get one of my key plays to come in. So we'll try to up the ante a little bit, do better on the Saturday program. But Tom Leach, the hot hand to hold on to, I think, after the opening day program. Now, favorites won 2 of 10. It wasn't like it was a chalk fest, but there was only one winner above 6-1, and that came in the Central Bank Ashland Stakes, a 20-1 upset. We're going to give you a chance to take a look at that big win. Kenny McPeak pulls the upset in the Ashland Stakes with defining purpose. Let's see how she beat Wonder Wheel, last year's Breeders' Cup champion, and more.
Wonder Wheel, fifth up on the outside, 4 lengths off the lead. Then Guns and Graces, Pride of the Nile last. They come to the quarter pole. Defining Purpose tries to draw alongside of Effortlessly Elegant. Now Punch Bowl seeks running room, changing lanes toward the outside. Julia Shining is right there with her. Wonder Wheel is a wide fifth, 3 from the front. Defining Purpose has the lead. Into the final furlong, Central Bank Ashland. Julia Shining is contesting second with Punch Bowl. Defining Purpose in front by 2.5 lengths. Defining Purpose chased all the way to the line. Defining Purpose has pulled a 20-1 upset in the Central Bank Ashland for Brian Hernandez Jr.
Can't say I had that one, but I can tell you last night we hinted about the possibility of such a thing in the Ashland Stakes because the history told us that, this race had 3 big bombs in the last 8 years since going back to the dirt, a 22-1 winner, a 30-1 winner, a 52-1 winner, add a 20-1 winner again to the Ashland. And one of the things they all had in common was front speed. Speed tends to win this race. Up front, it was a really impressive performance, surprising performance by Defining Purpose. And what that tells me, Defining Purpose winning the Ashland Stakes, is that Wet Paint, the filly who just handled her easily twice down at Oaklawn, is going to be all kinds of tough when we get to the Kentucky Oaks. Wet Paint may have been the winner today in the Ashland Stakes. I mean, not to get the purse money, but when you talk about the what ifs, Wet Paint now looks extremely strong going into the Kentucky Oaks because she just ran the table down at Oaklawn in their 3 stakes races, including the Fantasy. This horse was getting away from her, and she was able to beat last year's Breeders' Cup champion. She was able to beat a good field in today's Ashland Stakes. Brad Cox had the runner-up in there. Punch Bowl that a lot of people had high tidings for. This is really a solid endorsement of the form of Wet Paint from Oaklawn. As you look ahead to the Kentucky Oaks, I think that's one of the big takeaways there. So that's where we are as we get set to turn stakes day number 2 of the meet. Big stakes days start off the meet here at Keeneland. Then we get into more of the Kentucky circuit as we get into weeks 2, 3, and 4. But these first 2 days are loaded with stakes races, 8 of them in all. We had 3 on Friday. We get 5 of them on Saturday. Okay, let's go to the big picture now and tell you what we're looking at for this Saturday card, where the big wagers are going to start and where they're going to overlap, because there is some serious overlap here. In race number 1, the pick 5 is going to start. In race number 2, the early pick 4 will start. That's normal. We're used to seeing that. Now, the pick 6 is typically the final 6 races on the card, but they wanted it to be part of the all stakes program. So the stakes races 5 through 9, will get a little boost, if you will, through the pick 6 starting in race number 4. So you're going to have race number 4, and then the 5 stakes races are going to make up the pick 6. We told you about that $53,000. It's a typo there. Should be a $53,000 carryover in the pick 6. So, you're going to be interested in maybe taking a look at that pick 6 only because there's a carryover, because there are stakes races. And I got a little bit of a chalky forecast today in some of those pick 6 races. So how do we make value out of it? We string them together like a parlay. So it may be a day, if you're not a pick 6 player, to even consider putting together a little bit of action in there. But if you're not a pick 6 player and you're not going to play a significant, a ticket that has, a decent amount of options to it, then you don't want to go crazy. The pick 6 is a difficult wager to take down. So you still want to stay with your fundamentals. Race 5 is going to start a all stakes pick 5. So you see races 1 through 5. The pick 4 is going to overlap. Races 2 through 5 is going to get to the 5th. The 1 through 5 is going to get the 5th. So race number 5 on the card will be part of the early pick 5, the early pick 4, the pick 6, and start a pick 5. That's 4 major wagers that run through race number 5. I think you want to put a little extra handicapping thought into that one. And we will see in the Commonwealth Stakes when we get to that race, do we have a horse we like? We do. So that's one that we can swing maybe the early and late multi-race wagers through that race number 5. It's going to end a lot of the early wagers, and it's going to start some of the later wagers. To the back half of the card, the Keeneland Turf Pick 3, denoted in green, will be on races 6, 8, and 11. And again, we've got our traditional all stakes, or our traditional pick 5 and pick 4 on the last 5 on the card and the last 4 on the card. That's starting in races 7 and 8. But race 6 is going to throw another pick 4 at us because there's 4 consecutive stakes races. So we get an all stakes pick 5, an all stakes pick 4, and then the late versions of those. So if it sounds like a lot and there's a lot overlapping, there really is, because you could be playing a pick 5 that starts in race number 5, and it's going to include a lot of the same races that are in the late pick 4 and in the late pick 5. So get a sense on the back half of this program of the horses you like. And if you've got 2 or 3 of them that are kind of clumped within a race, or 2 or 3 of each other, you might be looking at 2 singles for a pick 4 or a pick 5 in that case, because there's a lot of overlapping legs today. So really keep the wagering format in mind, how you can take advantage of that on Saturday's card. Okay, let's get handicapping here. We're going to start off in the opening race, and I'll give you a look at the handicapper selectors box. This is directly from Keeneland.com. Go download it yourself, print it out if you want. Take a look at it on your phone or your computer or any device, but this is free at Keeneland.com. We open up in race number 1 with a claiming sprint here. Wesley Ward's got Halo of Fire. 4 of us pick this one on top. I expect when you see that you're going to see a horse who's bet pretty solidly. With Wesley Ward getting 2 wins on the opening day card, I think you're going to see this horse bet even harder. The 4 Proudfoot's the morning line favorite. I don't think you're going to see that when you've got 4 or 5 handicappers like this taking the 1 over the 4. And the way Ward's horses picked up 2 victories on the opening day card, he always gets bet at Keeneland. And I mean, it's no great, renaissance that he won 2 races on the card on Friday, but he's off to a good start. That's going to affect the wagering pools a bit more than it would anyway. Already trending that direction that you bet Wesley Ward. So Halo of Fire is going to be a shorter price, I think, than Proudfoot. Those look like the top 2 in the opening race, and probably the way you want to go here. 6 furlong sprints on the dirt. You don't want to be too far off the pace. Speed is big in these kind of races at Keeneland. So Halo of Fire, Rail Speed, Irad Ortiz, Wesley Ward makes a lot of sense. Certainly respect the 4 Proudfoot, the horse whose last couple have been pretty good at Oaklawn. And as we mentioned, the horses from Oaklawn had a really big opening day. 3 wins here at Keeneland on day 1 of the meet for the horses shipping in from Oaklawn Park. Second race on the card, we'll just move right into that one. And look, you look across here and you've got the 1, the 7, the 8, and the 6 getting a pair of shots. Now, like race 1, 4 or 5 people took the same horse. In race number 2, there's 4 different top choices amongst 5 handicappers. So a little bit more of a wide open race the way the handicappers see this one. I thought Batera, the 8, was the most interesting horse in the race because this horse for Al Stall Jr. ran 3rd in the career debut. Bishop's Bay and First Mission are 2 really good horses down at Fairgrounds. Really, really promising horses that on February 18th ran 1-2 in a race. Those are both stakes horses. I'll just say it flat out. These are 3-year-old stakes horses. Patera ran 3rd to them in the debuts. Got to get out of the gate a little bit better because, as we mentioned, sprinting on the main, you don't want to be too far out of it. So on paper, I like the 8 better. I like the race the 8 comes out of. But what we saw opening day, do we overinflate it now, or do we want to roll with it and try to, capitalize while things are hot? The 1 Mulligan might be the play in race number 2 for a couple of reasons. Again, this one comes from Oaklawn. We saw the Oaklawn horses have a lot of success on opening day. And Rudolph Brisset, the trainer, he had a very good opening day. His horses were clicking and firing, the ones that he sent out. So while I had this race 8-1 in my original handicapping, after seeing the races today, I think that tightens up quite a bit. I was fairly firm on the 8, but now the 1 makes me a lot more interested after what I saw today. This becomes a 2-deep situation if you're playing multi-race wagers. I don't think you want to separate the 2. Watch the tote board, see where you get value in terms of betting these horses to win. But I think they're pretty darn evenly matched now as you look at it. Wicked, again, the 6 is another one you want to respect in here. A good debut, second place finish. Squire Creek, the horse who beat him, is going to run a little bit later on the card. So this is a good barometer race. Even if you don't like to bet this race per se, if this is not one of the races that you're really interested in, watch it because number 6, Wicked, again, finished 2nd in the debut behind Squire Creek. We're going to see Squire Creek return in race number 10 a little bit later on the card in Allowance Company. So if this horse runs really well, that flatters the form of Squire Creek. If this horse, Wicked, again, doesn't run well, maybe you say, well, maybe the race wasn't as strong as I thought, and maybe you downgrade Squire Creek a little bit. So a good telltale barometer, as I like to call it, race here in race number 2. And that's because, again, it's going to start the early pick 4. I think you probably want to use 3 in there. 8, 1, and 6 all have a legitimate shot. I did not use any of the first-time starters. We talked about this stat last night, but first-time starters have only won 4 of the 27 races that we've had here at Keeneland in spring meets for 7 furlong maiden specials for these 3-year-olds. So this is what we have. It's 27 races. 23 of them have won by horses with experience. So I go against the first-time starters in this spot. Doesn't mean they can't win, but if I'm going to put my wagering dollar on on what's more likely to happen, I'm going to take a shot against the first-time starters. Labar in here for Todd Pletcher's obviously a first-time starter who's going to get bet. Equivoque, the outside horse, also a first-timer for Pletcher. Not an easy spot. Kenny McPeak's got a first-time starter, just a photo there in race number 2. But again, the experience has ruled in these races over the past, 7-8 years since we've been back on the dirt. So I'm going to play the trends in this one and go with the experienced horses. If the firsters beat me, so be it. Let's go to race number 3 next up on the program, and this is a turf sprint. And we mentioned that turf sprints were Wesley Ward territory yesterday. He won again in the Turf Sprint Company on the opening day card. Wesley Ward will be tough in here with number 8, Ibram. Ibram is undefeated in 3 career starts. They were all on Polytrack. Now we'll try turf for the first time, but 3 for 3, Wesley Ward, Tyler Gaffleone. There's a lot of reason to like the 8, Ibram in here. No question about that. The 5, Mamba on 3, though, is my top pick because this horse showed really good determination in the last couple starts despite terrible post draws at Gulfstream Park. Now things flip. The post draw is the big deal in here for me. In full field turf sprints, when we get these 12-horse turf sprints, the posts 3, 4, and 5 have a great statistical edge in here. They win about 42% of the races at average odds of almost 11-1. Now, you think 3 horses out of a 12-horse field, that's 1/4 of the field, 25%. Just on raw numbers, those 3 posts should win 25%. They win 42, so that tells you what an advantage is. And it's not 42% because they coincidentally over the years have had, low-priced horses in there. The average winner in those posts 3, 4, 5 in the big field turf sprints, 10.5, almost 11-1. So I like to look for the power post 3, 4, and 5 when I get a turf sprint with this full fields. Now, you get a turf sprint that's got a 7, 8, 9 horse field, post position not nearly as relevant because it's not a scramble like we have in the 12 horse fields. So post 3, post 4, post 5 are the places I want to look in these full field turf sprints. And to me, Mamba on 3 looks clearly the best of those 3 horses in those power post positions. Again, a lot of speed. Gerardo Corrales, a very good early speed jockey. This horse made the front and just missed running 3rd here back in 2021. We know you can handle the turf course. And again, terrible post positions down at Gulfstream. Now a much better post this time. So I'm on Mamba on 3, but obviously I'm afraid of the Wesley Ward horse in here, Ibram. Undefeated. There's no real reason to stand strongly against that one. Canthari on the outside. The horse is also undefeated. Todd Pletcher, trainee there. I've got some respect for that one, but it's going to be difficult to win from that far outside post. I think you can get through this race going too deep in the multi-race wagers. It's Mamba on 3 or Wesley Ward. I mean, I think that's the power post with the speed horse in the 5-hole. The obvious choice with Wesley Ward. 5 and 8, you see a lot of that across the picks. Mischievous Rogue is the pick for Gabby Gaudet in here. If you're looking for a price, maybe she's got an offering there. She's on the island, as I like to say. She's the only one who's got the 10, not only on top, but anywhere in the wagering. So try to listen in and see what her commentary is tomorrow on the live simulcast or on the Today at Keeneland show to get a sense of why she likes that one. She might make a very compelling case for a nice price there. Mischievous Rogue, the outlier, but everybody else is on the 5 or the 8, and I think it is a too deep situation in race number 3. We move our attention now back to the big picture because race number 4 is going to start that pick 6. Again, a $53,000 carryover in the pick 6. The graphic is wrong there. It's $53,000 on the carryover. I made the graphic, so I'm not throwing anybody under the bus but myself. Yeah, it's a $53,000 carryover. But race number 4 starts the pick 6, and it's also my first undercard race that I really feel decent about. I mean, I like horses in the earlier races, but I think they're going to be shorter prices, right? I mean, we talked about the Ward horse in the opener. You got 2 or 3 that all look about the same at around 2, 3 to 1 in the second race. Mambo and 3 or Ibram. You're not going to get a price on either one of those, I don't think, in the third. But in the fourth here, I think this is a horse that we're going to get a modest price on, and I like a lot. And it's Knee Deep in Snow. Knee Deep in Snow is a horse who has won here at Keeneland in the past and won impressively back here in the spring meet in April of 2022. So you get that, but you got speed on the rail, 6.5 furlongs. This is a speed distance, especially when you get a smaller field size like this. Smaller the field size, the more likely speed horses are to be successful. Less challenges up front. It's a little more cat and mouse. When you get those big fields, everybody's kind of trying to get position. So a horse who may not even be a front runner is being hustled by their rider to get position. In an 8-horse field that's 6.5 furlongs, This is not going to be a very strong pace. There's not much early speed in the race. Fortin Hill has a little speed. Maybe Fortin Hill tries to go along, but I think from the rail, it's knee deep in snow, just right to the front, improve your position from there in a race that I don't think is going to go that fast early. So I love this horse. It's good pace play. You get Tyler Gaffalione riding here and a horse who's already won over the course. Knee deep in snow will be fresh and hasn't run since last September. As I look back and I checked out the stats for the allowance races, it's 6.5 in the spring. We've had 15 of them. 5 of the 15 winners were horses making their seasonal debuts, had not run since last year. So this is a spot where you can come back and win off a long layoff. Shouldn't be that big of a deal. We're not looking for huge prices in this race. 15 of them we talked about at 6.5 allowance races in the spring meets on dirt. 10 of 15 winning favorites, and the average winner is only 3-1. So knee deep in snow's 4-1 in the morning line, goes down a tick or so. I don't have a problem with that. I think it's a standout on the front end, and I'm solidly behind knee deep in snow here. I think the 3 Dash Attack could run well here for a Kenny McPeak bar on the layoff. I have this layoff turn back and bullets angle I like. Horses that are laying off have been away for a long time. That's what we mean by a layoff. Turning back means they're shortening their distance. They're turning back the distance from something longer to something shorter. And then bullets are horses who are working fastest in the morning. Bullet work out the expression. So when they're laying off, and they're turning back the distance, and they're firing bullets in the morning, that means you got a fresh horse who's really sharp, and all they got to do is get a shorter distance than they're used to running. I think it's a good handicapping angle. Dash Attack and 3 Technique both fit that bill in this particular race. I'd be, no surprise at all if either one of those ran well underneath, but I don't think they can beat what they can't catch. And I don't think they can catch knee deep in snow in here. So that's where I'm at in race number 4. And that's one of my key plays on the undercard for the day. Like this one as much as anything. If I get 3-1 in the morning line, I'm happy with that. And I'm singling in the early pick 4, pick 5. And now we start the pick 6. Now, what's interesting here is if you have a single in the pick 6 that you like, why play the pick 5, right? The pick 5 comes up right next. Let me go back to that screen to show you here. Race number 5 next up is going to start the pick 5, and it's the all stakes pick 5. But the pick 6 is the race before. If you have a single in any leg of a pick 6, it doesn't cost you any more than the rest of the ticket because you're multiplying by 1, which is the same total. So while the all stakes pick 5 will be tempting to everybody, the pick 6 is really the play on Saturday because I've got a single in there, right? So it's going to cost me the exact same amount to play the pick 6 as it would the pick 5. I know there's a $1 minimum for the pick 6 versus a 50-cent minimum, but as far as the number of combinations, it's the exact same amount to play the pick 6 versus the pick 5. And there's the $53,000 carryover. Now, the carryover is important because that money's already been bet. Somebody else, I didn't play the pick 6 today. Somebody else lost that money, and now it's in the pot for me to try to win on Saturday. So if you do hit the pick 6, you're going to get a bigger payoff than you would have without the carryover money because that $63,000 added just into the new winning tickets when they're paid out. So you've got a player's advantage. The carryover is to your advantage. You're going to get a bigger return than you should. And you've got a 1 factor as you're multiplying out in the pick 6 versus playing the pick 5. So, I came in thinking, I'm going to play an all stakes pick 5. I love those kind of wagers. It's a big day at Keeneland. But now I've got a carryover in my back, that's wind at your back. That helps. And you've got a single coincidentally, right? I didn't make the race order, but the horse I like most on the undercard happens to be in the 4th race to start the pick 6. So no sense for me to get into the all stakes pick 5 unless I get knocked out, right? If knee deep in snow doesn't win the 4th, then I can come back and bet the pick 5 if I want to. But my approach then should be to go after the pick 6 for the same amount and for an added bonus of that $53,000 carryover. So I'm going in to the all stakes pick 5 sequence already, hopefully loaded up with knee deep in snow. 5th race on the card is our first of 5 consecutive stakes. It's the Commonwealth. Grade 3 here, 7 furlongs. Now, this is a race where favorites have only won 1 of the 7 years since return to dirt. This race was scrapped back during the COVID year. So some of our stakes races have 8 runnings, but some of them only have 7 since the return to dirt. Wesley Ward's got Nakatomi in here, a horse who's 3 for 3 over the track at Keeneland. Tom Leach, our buddy who's a hot handicapper, was walking around the grounds today talking to trainers to help you out in your place today. And one of them that he caught up with was Wesley Ward. Let's see what Ward has to say, courtesy of Tom Leach, about his contenders running on the card today.
Wesley Ward's got Nakatomi in the Commonwealth. The one prep up in New York, how did that set him up for this spot?
Oh, that's exactly what it was. We went into that. I talked it over with Fergus Galvin, and I said, you know, I've never won the Commonwealth, and that's a race that I've always looked to hopefully win if I had the right horse, and hopefully a horse like this, that's 3 for 3 undefeated on the track, he can keep his record, you know, maintain his record in the race.
How about the 7 furlongs?
I think that he's a 7 furlong type of horse. You know, that's why our plan going into the race was to take him back in Aqueduct and let him settle and come with the run, and he did. You know, he just fell short and he got beat on the squares with no issues or no excuses. But you know, this being his home track, I think that race set him up great for it.
And arrest me, Red, in the Shakertown, how close to 100% is he for this start off the layoff?
Oh, he's ready. He's certainly ready. There's many works. Julio Garcia's been on him and on a lot of his works over at Turfway. It's just a question of if he does or does not like this surface here at Keeneland. A lot of my really good sprinters, for whatever reason or not, they don't perform well on this turf course, and then, you know, and then they'll come right back and they'll fire big the next time. It takes a special kind of horse to like Keeneland, and that's what, you know, the only question mark is. But other than that, he's ready to go.
What about handling that outside post?
I think that if I was to pick a post for him, that would be it.
Really?
Outside, this way, because he's got enough speed, he's very quick, and if somebody goes, which more likely than not they will in a 5.5 furlong grade 2 race like this, then Joel will be patient and let them go, and he'll be uninhibited up front.
Got the first win of the meet with Bledsoe, named for Drew Bledsoe, right?
Drew Bledsoe, yeah, he's from a town Walla Walla just down the street from mine in Yakima, so you know, it's kind of great, and I drink his wine, and that's one of the reasons why I named it. I called out there yesterday to let the winery know to let him know it was in, so I hope he was watching.
Did you expect him to run big?
I expected him to win. I really did. I've been very high on this horse ever since we started breezing him. He just showed, you know, he was different class than a lot of the others that I put him with. So, but when you get in a race, especially inside draw like that, you never know. And he got kind of shuffled back the first part, so that was kind of had me on edge. But he came through and showed really what he was.
Lastly, how are the 2-year-olds set up for this meet?
Good. I'm really happy with them. I've got a few homebreds, including him and another filly that I run here on Wednesday, that are very quick and fast. But I got some really good ones to come out here late in the meet.
So some good stuff there from Tom Leach with Wesley Ward, and I'll tell you, Ward's 2-year-olds again got off to a good start with Bledsoe. He got off to a good start yesterday in the turf sprint ranks. The way he's talking about Nakatomi really wanting the 7 furlongs, I like the sound of that. That's my top pick in here in the Commonwealth Stakes. And, you know, this is a horse that at 5.5 furlong or 4.5 won here at Keeneland, at 6 won at Keeneland, at 6.5 won at Keeneland. The 7 is the next step for Nakatomi. Now, this is kind of an interesting one here because I don't think there's a lot of early speed in the Commonwealth Stakes. You know, you kind of look down through the past performances and you wonder where the front runner is going to come from. I won't be surprised if Nakatomi doesn't show a bit more speed. When Tyler Gaffalione rode this horse to an allowance win here in the fall, they were up towards the front. This horse closed in the last 2 in Stakes Company out in the Malibu and in the Tom Fool. If Gaffalione hustles Nakatomi, I think this horse can be near the front. And I kind of think that's what's going to happen. I went back and looked. I said, okay, 7 furlong races at Keeneland. Who's done best when they get a horse on the lead? Because whoever gets into the lead in this race, I think is going to be tough to beat. And it's Tyler Gaffalione. He's had the best wins, best percentage. When he gets the lead in the first half mile of the 7 furlong race at Keeneland, he's been the most successful jockey. So if Gaffalione can get Nakatomi to the front in this race, I think he's the horse to beat. Now, if the pace comes back and the horses from off the pace have a bigger shot, Get Her Numbers, obviously a horse that you want to consider in here. And one that I'm really interested in is Run Classic. I'm going to go back to the handicappers selection box here because you will see that Run Classic is the pick of Scott Hazelton, of Tom Leach, of Gabby Gaudette, of Kim Nelson, and I've got him nowhere. So I start to wonder, what the hell did I miss here, right? You know, I mean, we all looked at the same paper. I think what happened was I did not give enough credit to that 8-length win here at Keeneland in the fall. We've seen many times where horses for courses are a serious angle here at Keeneland. If Run Classic runs back to that race, I totally see why everybody's got this horse on top. I probably took the tone here. Not probably. I know why I did. Horses turning back in distance have not had a lot of success in the 7 furlong stakes races at Keeneland. They've been won by horses coming out of 1-turn races. So there have been a lot of 2-turn horses try to cut back in distance and win the 7 furlong stakes here at Keeneland. they're not that successful when doing so. So that's the angle where I was like, okay, lean to the one-turn horses. Nakatomi, get her number. Also a horse, Heart Rhythm, who's 3 for 3 at Keeneland. That's why those three are my top three choices in here, and why I went against Run Classic. Not that Run Classic can't win going one turn. That 7/8 win at Keeneland by 8 lengths in the fall, getting a 105 buyer, tells you absolutely that he can. But they've kind of taken something off the fastball. Brett Calhoun's run this horse 4 times in a row in route races. Whole different ball game. 2 lead changes. They go into the turn and turn left. They go into the second turn, turn left again. Then into the stretch. You know, all the lead changes that go into a horse's cadence when they're running around 2 turns, different than when they just run the 1-turn races. So, you know, Run Classic's going to have to do something a little bit different. Those horses haven't been that successful, turning back from 2 turns to 1 here in Keeneland 7 furlong stakes races. But I get it. I'm against the grain on this one. And we will see what Run Classic does. But if he runs back to that race in the fall, they're probably all running for second. I don't think Nakatomi can run a race that fast. I don't think Got Her Number can run a race that fast. But I don't know if Run Classic can run a race that fast anymore after going 4 straight route races. The whole different training game and regiment and the way they're prepared. So I'll take my chances in here. But I think Nakatomi's the horse to beat. Get Her Number. Heart Rhythm, if you want to throw the 7 in there as well. I can see you going 4 deep in here in the All Stakes Pick 5. Again, in the 6th race or the 5th race, it's the All Stakes Pick 5 that kicks off in race number 5. I am dawdling on the clock here tonight, so I'll pick up the pace here a little bit over the second half. Hopefully you're enjoying the information and the conversation, but we want to get things moving a little bit here. Let's go to the 6th. It's the Appalachian Stakes, grade 2 here, a mile on the turf, and Cairo Consort was probably the best filly on the turf down in Florida this winter. She was a 2-time stakes winner for Todd Pletcher. Pletcher also has Alpha Bella in this race. He won it in 2021. He won it way back in 2007. He knows how to get a horse ready for this one. And Pleasant Passage is the other horse in this race I think you want to keep an eye on as we go to the handicapper selection box. Pleasant Passage, top pick for myself and Tom. Cairo Consort, top pick for Kim Nelson. Pleasant Passage was second last year in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies Turf over the same course. She's got a versatile running style in here. Shug McGahee, the trainer, goes to Tyler Gaffleone. Jockey change here. Irad Ortiz will not be aboard. He's riding Cairo Consort. Interesting choice there, but he rides a lot more horses for Pletcher than he does for Shug McGahee, so you don't want to read too much into that. Tyler Gaffleone getting back on Pleasant Passage. He was the original rider. Gaffleone won this race last year, wire to wire, with Spenderella. There's not a lot of early speed in the race. Typically, the Appalachian has been won by horses near the front. The last 8 winners, the average is 1 length off the pace after the opening half mile. You want to be up near the pace in here. Who's going to be up near the pace? There's not a horse that really stands out to show speed in here, but this horse did win the Miss Grillo on the front end, Pleasant Passage. And again, since Gaffleone won this race last year in front-running fashion with Spenderella, he might try to employ the same kind of tactics again. That's why I've got Pleasant Passage on top in here. Well Into's got a little bit of speed, and so that's one I thought might show some speed from the outside gate. Shamanov, the rider, doesn't get a lot of big-time mounts. He'll take instructions, and I think the instructions will be to try to get to the front. So I think the 7 and the 9 are the 2 speed horses in the Appalachian Stakes that I want to lean on. Papilio's a horse that my fellow handicapper Scott and Gabby both have on top, so one you want to give a second look to. Runner-up in the Here Comes the Bride Stakes down at Gulfstream Park, just edging Cairo Consort with a troubled trip. This was a import from Ireland, second time with the Mark Cassidy barn. A lot of times those imports run best first time in the U.S., and then they kind of have that regression in the second start. But if Papilio moves forward off of that race, certainly a major winning contender. But I'm going to try to get by probably 2, maybe 3 deep with Cairo Consort. But Pleasant Passage, the horse I like best in there. 7, 9, 3, the trio that I'll use. Now let's go back to the big board because we're talking races 7 and 8. We've got back-to-back Breeders' Cup champions coming up in the next 2 races. If you're going to get a payoff in the pick 4s, pick 5, pick 6, you're going to need to beat one of these 2 horses. You've got first up Goodnight Olive and then Caravel in the next 2 stakes races in the Madison and the Shakertown. I totally get it that Goodnight Olive is a superstar. She's won 6 in a row. She'll be going for 7. Chad Brown won this race, the Madison, with a horse making the first start of the year, Paula Silver Lining, back in 2017. She'll be fine first time off the bench, but we don't know for sure what she's going to have. I didn't get a chance to see her workouts at XBTV down at Payson Park, but they weren't available. But, I saw one of them, but it was just a solo move, and you didn't get to really see a whole lot there. So I don't know where she's at right now. If you can beat her, you've got a chance to really blow up this ticket. And that's maybe the chance to take a little bit of a wise guy horse, if you will. Ujiri is one that I'm going to give a shot to in here. I think Goodnight Olive is probably the most not probably the most likely winner. Of course, she's the most likely winner, but I'm going to give Ujiri a shot because I think she's going to be in front of her the whole way. You know, the trends of this race, horses want to be up towards the front end here. You want horses that have one-turn races last time out. You got a couple horses trying to cut back from two-turn races like Society and Cocktail Moments. If you're going to try to beat Goodnight Olive, then that means you do it with the 4 Ujiri or the 5 Mary Quite Contrary. Well, Mary Quite Contrary comes from off the pace. Goodnight Olive comes from a little bit off the pace. So if the running styles are similar, I don't see how you're going to beat Goodnight Olive if you're trying to employ the same style. So Ujiri's the different style. I think she's going to be in front throughout. Ricardo Santana, good front running jockey. And we told you, Rodolphe Brisset's horses all look like they were ready to run today on opening day, and he could be set up for a big opening weekend. I made this pick of Ujiri before seeing the races today, and now I feel a little bit better about it. So I'll take my shot in there with the 4. I know Goodnight Olive's darn good, and she'll probably win the thing, but I've got to beat at least one of these two in order to have some success on the day, because there are a lot of chalk or 2 and 3 to 1 type shots that I like throughout the card. So I've got to beat one of these 3 to 5s if I'm going to be, dancing around with 2 and 3 to 1 shots and make any hay out of them. You can't, you can't match up 2 and 3 to 1 shots with 3 to 5s and expect to get anything in pick 3s, pick 4s, pick 5s. So you got to knock off one of these 3 to 5s. I'll try to do it. And I'm going to take 2 shots. And if one of them's right, then I'll be okay with it. The second chance we take is back in race number 8, where it's Caravel, the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf winner in the Shakertown Stakes. Wesley Ward mentioned it. You either like Keeneland's turf course or you don't. It's a sand-based turf course, pretty rare across the United States. Churchill, a similar sand-based turf course. Of course, they re-upped the Churchill turf course last year a couple times, so not quite sure what we got on the grass there. But at Keeneland, we know this. If you like the sand-based turf course, you like it, and Caravel certainly does. Going 2 for 2, winning the Franklin Stakes and the Breeders' Cup Turf Sprint against the boys. She's back against the boys on Saturday. Brad Cox, Tyler Gaffleone. A lot of respect for Caravel, but I think Artemis City Limits, this is another one where, this horse was in the Breeders' Cup Turf Sprint out of the 13 hole. So if you go back to Artemis City Limits, had no shot that I was going to pick this horse on top in the Breeders' Cup. And then from the 13 hole, I don't know, 75 to 1. Only got beat 2 lengths. Now a much better post draw. We talk about the power post 3, 4, and 5 in a big field turf sprint like this. Artemis City Limits in the 3, Baker's Bay in the 4, Mr. In the 5. I think the 3 and the 5 have a real solid shot in here. I've got a lot of respect for them, so I'm going to use them both. Caravel, obviously, you want to respect from the 8 hole, and then all the way out in the 12 is the Arrest Me Red. The horse Wesley Ward said he prefers that Arrest Me Red's to the outside. Ward has won this race to Shakertown in 2016, 2018, 21, and 22. He's going for a 3-peat and his 5th win since 2016. And this is interesting. The 4 previous wins for Wesley Ward in the Shakertown were from post 9, 10, 10, and 12. There's a reason Wesley's not afraid of the outside post. Not everybody can win from out there, but the Ward horses do. So Arrest Me Red is one, I think, that it's fearful to leave off the ticket, but I'll do so in this case. But just certainly a lot of respect. Scratcher 2 certainly wouldn't hurt to bring that one down in. But Artemis City Limits, beautiful post. Irad Ortiz, plenty of speed. We know you like the course. This horse ran good 3rd in the Woodford last year behind Golden Pow. And there's no Golden Pows in here, and that means Caravel included is not a Golden Pow. But Caravel is very good, but she's not Golden Pow in his peak. And so I like the form lines. I like the form lines for Artemis City Limits, and I take a little bit of an upset shot in this one. Let's go to the Toyota Bluegrass next. That's the feature race number 9, the 99th running of the Bluegrass, 1 mile and an 1/8. We've run this race on dirt 8 times since the return of the dirt surface back in 2015. 5 of the 8 were won by horses that were front runners, 2 from the middle of the pack, and 1 deep closer. I believe Birdie's Cause was the deep closer off the top of my head. So it's been a profile that's leaned towards speed, and this race doesn't have a lot of early pace in it in the Bluegrass. Tapit Trice is the big favorite, deservedly so, off the win in the Tampa Bay Derby. 3 straight victories. The horse to beat in here for Todd Pletcher, a guy who's won this race back on the dirt with Carpe Diem in 2015. Saez rides. He's an aggressive rider, but this horse needs to get out of the starting gate. That's been the problem. Let's talk Tapit Trice a little bit more as Tom Leach caught up with Todd Pletcher earlier today to talk about his contender and that inside post position.
Pletcher's saddles Tappet Trice in the Grade 1 Toyota Bluegrass. How has he trained out of the win in Tampa?
He's trained great. He's a horse that's always trained really well. He's always given us an impression that the further he gets to go, the better. So we're looking forward to running a mile and an eighth.
Any concern about the inside post position?
Well, he's typically not quick from the gate. He did draw the one hole when he won the allowance race at Gulfstream, so he does have some experience from down in there. We just need him to jump a little better that first time out of the box and get a little better position, hopefully.
Anything in particular you've learned about him from the last start to start recently?
Well, I think his last two starts were quite good. And, at the Tampa race, he looked like he was still spinning his wheels at the 3/8 pole. He didn't look like he had much of a chance, and then all of a sudden he's winning by 2. So, he's got a lot of talent, and we think the further the better.
As a Derby prospect, what's his best quality?
He's got a really good rhythm to him, really long stride. And like I said, I think he'll appreciate the distance.
Julia Shining, close third in the Central Bank Ashland. What were your thoughts on her performance?
That was a very good effort. She showed a little more tactical speed with the blinkers on, and she was still closing well at the end. I thought it was a real big effort from her, and I think she'll appreciate the added distance at Churchill.
Yeah, and how is she trained from 2 to 3? Any notable improvement?
Well, I think typical of a Curlin out of an APND mare that she should continue to improve as she ages.
Thanks to Tom Leach for those interviews. Be sure to check out the Keeneland YouTube page for more of those. We show a couple of them on here, but there's even more of that arsenal in the library on the Keeneland YouTube page. Tom Leach catching up with the connections. Interesting with Tappet Trice. He's the horse to beat, and like Todd said, he looked beat at Tampa and then just found another gear, kind of like what we saw with Forte in the Florida Derby, if you saw that a race last week. He looked like he was spinning his wheels, not going on anywhere, and all of a sudden then just kind of kicked it into overdrive and got it done. Tappet Trice ran the same way in the Tampa Bay Derby. That kind of performance might be able to win this race if the speed comes back to him. But if he kind of spins his wheels and lags early and tries to make a desperate run but doesn't quite get the speed to come back to him, then I think he's potentially upset here. Now, who are the speed horses in the Bluegrass? There's Major Blue for Wayne Lucas coming off a 5.5 furlong win at Oaklawn. In 46 flat for the opening split. So it wasn't blazingly fast, but it was quick enough. Maybe Major Blue from race number 9 goes to the front, or from post number 9 goes to the front. But the only other horse I see really trying to go to the front in here is number 3, Verifying. I think Tyler Gaffleone's going to take this horse who pressed the pace in the Rebel against some good horses. The son of Justify, I think we'll try to just go to the front from post 3. I don't think Tappet Trice has speed on the inside, clear the air. The 2 doesn't have any speed. So Gaffleone's going to want to keep the rail. I think he's going to clear the 1 and the 2. He's going to go quick with them. Brad Cox, his horses like to get out there and get motoring. He won this race in 21 with essential quality. So I think the upset possibility in here, if you beat Tappet Trice, is going to be with Verifying. Again, it's about styles. If the race sets up for Tappet Trice, he's the best closer in this race. So I don't want the other closers. If I'm going to try to beat a favorite like Tappet Trice, I want to do it with a different running style than the favorite has. So I want a horse near the front. That's why I'm taking Verifying in here. Tom Leach has the same idea. We're both on Verifying. Blazing Sevens, total wild card. I have no idea what we're going to get out of Blazing Sevens. Chad Brown does put blinkers on this runner. Won the Champagne. Horse ran all from off the pace last year. Came back in the Fountain of Youth and never picked up a foot. You're really playing on some faith. This horse ran 8th beat in 26 last time. I know he was bumped at the start, but it wasn't that bad going back and watching the replay. He should have run on a little bit and done something. But it's Chad Brown. It's Irad Ortiz. I respect that. Brown won this race last year with Zandon. He won this race in 2018 with Good Magic. We'll see if he's got another Bluegrass ace up his sleeve with Blazing Sevens. You got to prove it to me after running 8th beat in 26 in the Fountain of Youth. I'm not giving a full mulligan based on the traffic in there. But if he wins, he'll head on to the Kentucky Derby. And all these horses are playing for Kentucky Derby points in this spot, because I think the only horses in the Bluegrass who are safe on the points are the Gotham winner, Raise Kane, who starts from post 10, and then Tappet Trice. I think they both have enough points to already play in the Derby, so they may not be desperate for the win, but everybody's trying to win this race. Make no mistake, it's a grade $1 million race. Everybody wants this trophy in their case, and they want that cash in their pocket. So, yes, it's a prep for the Kentucky Derby, and yes, I have enough points to already get in the race. But the pencils are sharpened, folks. Trust me. They want to run big race here. You may not want to just get in a rock'em sock'em robots match and wipe your horse out. but they will be primed to run their best races, even those who already have the qualifying points. It's verifying Tapit Trice to me. It's an either or. I don't see anybody else on the win end. Sun Thunder, a really nice closer from off the pace, but this isn't going to be a fast-paced race. I think he can get up for third or fourth, and maybe a horse you want to watch in the Kentucky Derby. Sun Thunder would get into the race with a top 3 or 4 finish on points, and he'd be a horse who would like a mile and a quarter. But for me, it's all about verifying up front. Tapit Trice from off the pace. It's a too deep situation in the Toyota Bluegrass. Let's go to our big picture and show you that races 10 and 11 on the card are the last two that we'll look at. The Keeneland Turf Pick 3 will be on race number 11. 10th on the card looks like just an obvious favorite in here, and I think we're almost all in agreement. Squire Creek, top pick in here. Debut winner by 6 for Brad Cox. Now, again, we mentioned Wicked Again runs earlier on the card in race number 2. Squire Creek beat Wicked Again by 6 in that career debut. If Wicked Again comes back and runs a good one in race number 2, it makes Squire Creek look all the better. If Wicked Again runs terribly, then maybe you look at Squire Creek and say maybe he's not as far ahead of the rest of the pack as some of the others in here, and maybe you kind of bring some of the other ones in closer to them in your estimation. Gilcrease, the 2 you want to watch, the 4 Blue Light. I see nothing creative in here. There are 3 horses from the fairgrounds, all ran really nice races in quick times. The 1, the 2, and the 4, I can't see it going any other way. And if you look at the other public handicappers, almost everybody's got this race, some form of 1, 2, and 4, and you're probably singling Squire Creek in here, and I would not argue with that unless Wicked Again runs really bad in race number 2, then maybe you don't single Squire Creek. But if Wicked Again runs a representative race, runs pretty well coming back, then I would think that that's a legitimate performance by Squire Creek in the debut, and you just single that one and move on. We will move on to the 11th and final race on the card, a mile and an eighth on the turf here, and I'm going with the Operation Torch in here. This is a horse for Shug McGahee. I like horses that come off of turf races, the Gulfstream turf races, coming off a longer distance, 2-turn routes. There's a lot of horses in this race making surface changes. That has not been successful in mile and an eighth maiden special weights on the turf here at Keeneland. These are usually turf horses and turf horses that have run long on the grass in their most recent start. There aren't that many horses in this race that have run long on the turf last out. I mean, you're looking at the 1 Mondego, the 2 Wim Hof, and the 3 Operation Torch. And the rest of these horses are making surface changes or stretching out in distance. It's just kind of down to the 1, 2, 3 to me. And I'll just play that angle. The 6, he's got Swagger, is a horse who comes in from Fairgrounds, did run long on the turf last time, but on the Fairground circuit, Kenny McPeak had the big upset opening day here. Maybe his horses are going to come out winging. He's got Swagger, the other one in there, beyond the Gulfstream horses. But I prefer the Gulfstream turf horses this time of year at Keeneland. So I'm going to take Operation Torch on top. I would use, all of those in there and maybe throw the 6 in as well. 1, 2, 3, and 6. You could go 4 deep in here because you're likely singling Squire Creek. You're likely going 2 deep in the Bluegrass. I don't think you go more than maybe 3 deep or so, 4 deep in the 8th race. And then you got Ujiri, Goodnight Olive. As you can see, we're not going super deep in a lot of these races. So you can get involved in the pick 4s, the pick 5s, and that carryover, $53,000 carryover pick 6 without spending a ton of money. I don't see these as like 7 by 7 by 7 kind of tickets, where the price really ratchets through the roof. So that's my look at the 11 race card. Sorry, we went a little bit long here tonight, but looking forward to an 11 race program that gets underway at 12:30 Eastern, earlier start time, half hour sooner tomorrow for the big day at Keeneland. If you can't catch the Keeneland Look Ahead each night live at 8:30 on YouTube or on Twitter, be sure to check out those 2 locations for the replay of the show. That'll be available immediately after. So even if you want to take a look at these on the day of as you're handicapping and getting set for a day's races, they'll already be there and banked and archived for you. So be sure to check that out. On behalf of everybody at Keeneland, I'm Jeremy Plonk. Have a great night. Happy Easter, everybody, and good luck tomorrow. Remember, no racing on Easter Sunday, so we'll be back at it on Wednesday with live racing, which means our next Keeneland Look Ahead will be Tuesday night at 8:30. Enjoy the big Toyota Bluegrass card tomorrow, and good luck.